De kathedraalbouwers. In 1350 hebben ze dit monument
The cathedral builders. They started the construction of the cathedral around 1350 AD, and it took them 170 years to complete. But why did they build it on that particular site? It certainly wasn't a coincidence. There was plenty of space and hardly any urbanization. We will prove that these architects knew how to manipulate cosmic and telluric energy. They designed this cathedral in the same way that the Egyptians designed the pyramids, the Druids Stonehenge, and the Greeks and Romans their temples.
Their main tool was a V-shaped antenna, also known as a divining rod, which was used to find water, salt, and especially silver. Even today, this method is still in use in the discovery of oil fields. How does such a V-shaped antenna work? On completion of his studies of Oriental medicine, Jan Tavernier spent 15 years studying the phenomenon of natural and artificial electromagnetic induction. He did this in Germany, where they have been studying this phenomenon for more than 50 years on an academic level.
I am convinced that most people would be capable of obtaining results with this simple tool after just one day of practice. Look, this is how tension is created on the system, allowing it to tilt up or down easily. This tilting is caused by subtle changes in the field strength when you start walking.
Under the antenna, a sensitivity cluster is created, allowing you to scan whatever object you want. Every object has its own radiation with a specific wavelength. With the help of an antenna, you are able to capture the waves. You can even distinguish between the different wavelengths, which are unique for all objects, by altering the distance between the grip and the top of the antenna. For example, for discovering water, for finding salt, iron, silver, or gold. You can also alter the top, which gives more accurate readings than when you move your hands.
The German scientist Reinhard Schneider made a modern divining rod based on this system. He made the legs of the V-shaped antenna parallel. A short circuit wire in between is able to change the gripping distance. A measuring rod enables you to tune into a specific wavelength with an accuracy of 0.5 millimeter.
Schneider named it the Lescher antenna after the physicist Ernst Lescher, who discovered the same principle for holding on to a wave. Here also we are able to direct a sensitivity cluster onto any object. What does this instrument tell us about the Antwerp Cathedral? Around 1000 AD, there had been a water well on this site, which was fed, as is mostly the case, from an underground vein of water. This barrel was found 5 meters under the current church floor and acted as a filter for the water well. A number of years later, a small church was built on this site, barely 8 meters wide. In 1124, construction started on an impressive Roman church 42 meters wide. Its axial line was the vein of water of the old water well. The water flows along a fault line towards the Scheldt, which in a fan-shaped radiation spectrum determined the structure and orientation of the church.
Every beam of this spectrum pattern can still be measured as it was measured in 1124 by the church builders.
Like the Egyptians, Greeks and Romans, the builders knew all about the Earth's energy radiation patterns. The Earth acts as a spherical antenna. It captures cosmic radiation and emits it. This emission occurs in specific patterns, which we call reticular. There are 7 geodynamic nets known to us, and the 2 most important ones are the large global net, north-south, west-east, and the large diagonal net, 45 degrees turn. The meshes of these nets are approximately 30 meters in size, which means we find a line of maximum intensity every 30 meters. The Romans called this a maximus. The north-south maximus was known as the Cardo Mundi, which means earth axle. And the west-east maximus was known as the decumanus. The junctions of these nets, where the energy is at its strongest level, have been used for specific purposes since time immemorial, either for religious purposes, as burial places, or for orgies, depending on the quality of the net. This knowledge, which has been completely lost to modern-day man, was described extensively in the Codex Agrimensorum Romanorum, the manual for Roman surveyors in 350 AD. In 1350, Antwerp had grown considerably, which meant the Roman Church had become too small. On the same site, construction was started on the present prestigious cathedral, 55 meters wide. Old temples and churches were mostly built on a junction of the global net, but that is not the case with the Antwerp Cathedral. The north line, or Cardo Mundi, can be found in the transept without any trouble, where it has been indicated with a copper line on the floor. The decumanus is at right angles to it, but this is not the backbone of the church. We also find a junction of the large diagonal precisely on the pulpit, which is supposed to improve eloquence, and a second junction exactly on the bishop's place to the left of the main altar.
Some cathedrals have a mark on a tile to indicate where the bishop's staff is supposed to touch the floor. This is not the case here, because the floor was restored a long time ago. However, it is a belief that the diagonal net is able to charge a special antenna, which is in fact the bishop's staff.
Every old church has an energy backbone, just as the Roman Church had a water fault line. Strangely, the present-day cathedral follows the structure of the seventh net, which deviates clearly from the fault line. The first junction of this net is on the place where the celebrant stands near the main altar.
It was decided centuries ago that the priest was to stand near the main altar, where he would bathe in the salutary energy of the seventh net. Unfortunately, current beliefs in the church have deemed it necessary to move the main altar to the transept, where the concentration of energy is not as strong.
A second junction is on the pulpit in the nave, and a third in front of the main portal outside the church.
On this spot, we are standing exactly on the third junction of the seventh net, just a few steps away from the main portal of the cathedral. These junctions can be measured, either underground, on the surface, or high in the sky. However, we have noticed they are never completely perpendicular to each other, but deviate slightly towards the northeast. This plane deviates in a northerly direction, and the intersection deviates towards the east, which is caused by the Earth's rotation. What is strange, though, is that the intersecting line of those two sloping planes can be found 120 meters higher, exactly in the spire, as if by coincidence. Here we find the intersecting lines of the two planes. This is the reason why the northern tower is exactly 123 meters high, contrary to the southern tower. The northern tower has a powerful antenna function for cosmic and telluric energy, which is continuously radiated into the entire church and the town. So in fact, the Antwerp Cathedral is completely finished.
This profound knowledge is being rediscovered bit by bit from antiquity, from the Templars, the Freemasons, the cathedral builders, thanks to a lot of research and an accurate measuring instrument, the Lecker antenna. In fact, this Lecker antenna is nothing more than a modern version of an Egyptian tool. It was probably first used as a kind of divining rod with an adjustable ruler. Later it became a symbol of life, the ankh, which can be seen on many Egyptian drawings and texts. Finally, the ankh was also used for the Coptic cross in Christian Egypt.